Hello friends, James Stevenson back with another episode of Who's Hatin' Hard on Tesla. Today I am joined as always by my co-host, Loki, who is sleeping on the job. But today's hater, which we'll get to in a few minutes, is Brad Munkin, who is hating hard on Tesla almost every day. But one particular day I will share with you after I show you this tweet. So first, I'm going to tell the story in reverse. I'm going to show you this tweet that you may have seen already, and then I'll give you the backstory behind why I tweeted it. Desperate Tesla Q short sellers are now trying to convince you that Tesla is doomed because research and development spending is down. Some of you thought I was kidding when I mentioned this in my May 7th 69 tweet forecast thread. Yeah, I've got some charts that are a little bit similar to this. They're stacked. They show all the elements of operating expenses, or just the SG&A components, which sometimes a guy like Gordon Johnson, another person who is hating hard on Tesla every single day, if not today, will say, hey, Tesla's doomed because their SG&A spending is down year over year, without even bothering to find out why SG&A spending is down year over year. So does this trend look down to you? Let me make this bigger so you can take a look at it. Yeah, that's fitting the screen okay. So this is Tesla's research and development expense in billions of dollars on a 12 trailing month basis. A very simple chart here. There's only one kind of thing happening. It's just showing you over the 12 trailing months how much money did Tesla spend on research and development. So it's been more than $1 billion every year for any 12 trailing month time period, any rolling year worth of consecutive quarters. It's been more than $1 billion. You can see it was falling some in 2019 until the middle of 2020, and then Tesla has really ramped up research and development spending, and this trend is up and to the right, with a little bit of a retracement here in Q1 of 2023, spending less money than in the prior year. Now I know the 12 trailing months ended here are still less than the 12 trailing months ended here, which is one of the reasons to do it on a 12 trailing month basis. But the only way you can get a decline sequentially on a 12 trailing month number is if this quarter's number was less than this quarter's number. And I haven't stacked these so that you can see the 4 quarters that make each of these up, but I wanted to keep this simple. So let me scroll down and show you the reason why Tesla's research and development costs were lower in Q1 of 2023 than they were in 2022. They increased in 9 of the past 10 quarters. The most recently reported quarter was the one that declined by less than $0.1 billion year over year. It was explained in the 10Q as high costs of pre-opening at Austin and Berlin in the prior year. Now, friends, I know most of you do not read the 10Q. Why should you? It's a long, boring document. I, your humble host, am here to do that for you. And, you know, lots of other people are doing it as well and tweeting about what they find in the 10Q. This is the research and development section. So in 2023, Tesla spent $771 million over the first quarter of the year on research and development expenses. In the prior year, same quarter, they spent $865 million. So that's down $94 million, or an 11% drop. This is what the bears are worried about, and it's explained right here. Research and development expenses decreased $94 million, or 11%, in the 3 months ended March 31st, 2023, as compared to the 3 months ended March 31st, 2022. The overall decrease was primarily driven by additional costs in the 3 months ended March 31st, 2022. They're saying it's a tough comp against a prior year that had one-time costs in it. What were those? Pre-production phase at Giga Texas and Giga Berlin, Brandenburg. So research and development expenses as a percentage of revenue decreased from 5% to 3%, if you're looking at these numbers now, because the revenues increased by so much, right? Our R&D expenses have decreased as a proportion of total revenues despite expanding product roadmap and technologies. Tesla is spending what they feel like they need to spend on research and development to achieve their goals. That's what you want to do. So I'm going to close out of this and show you some more information on this. In answer to a reply from Mike Schreiber, can and should it go up indefinitely doesn't make much sense. So I had to reply to this. The short sellers believe every company should spend the auto industry's average percent of revenue on R&D every year, no matter what the research and development teams deliver, no matter what the results are out of the R&D team, right? And no matter how much revenue grew by. So regardless, just spend the auto industry average, and if you're not doing that, you're underspending. Well, that's not that analysis is too simplistic to be right. So there would never be any operating leverage against fixed costs. Yeah, no matter how big your company gets, you would never be able to improve your research and development expenses as a percent of revenue if you kept pegging them to whatever the industry average is, as though that's the right answer because it's the industry average. Yeah, I'm not joking. That is, in my opinion, an overly simplistic capital allocation strategy. That is not how professional business people ought to be allocating capital. They should be letting research and development spend enough money to adequately fund successful completion of the projects you want your R&D team to focus their efforts on. That's what you ought to be doing, regardless of what percentage of revenue that R&D spending is. The outcome is what matters, not the amount spent. There is not a linear relationship between what you spend and what you get. You can't just achieve more. You can't just achieve results that are twice as good from your research and development team by paying them twice as much. Right? That won't work. At some point, you won't have the human talent to execute successfully on another $1 billion of spending without eroding culture or degrading outcomes. There is a limit to how much you can increase spending by and still get effective results. That's what you want. You want actionable product from your research and development team, right? How much has Toyota spent on research and development over the past decade? What do they have to show for it? Go look at the Toyota products and you tell me, are they leading the auto industry in technology? They're definitely not, right? We just heard from Jim Farley in his Twitter Spaces live interview with Elon Musk that he sees Tesla as having achieved success on a very hard problem, which is over-the-air software updates that Ford hasn't yet achieved. Ford spends more on research and development than Tesla does. It didn't yield them superior results, right? And I've got one more place to go, which is the reason why I sent the tweet in the first place. It's our old friend Brad Munkin, Motorhead, hating hard on Tesla today, who sent this tweet. Whenever a Tesla fanboy mentions R&D being higher for EVs and ICE versus ICE, I like to pull this chart out. What chart has Brad made? He's made a research and development as a percentage of revenues chart. So, yeah, it's going to fall as a percentage of revenue because the revenue is growing by so much. Hello, you already saw the dollars. The dollars are trending up and to the right on my chart. And that's what I replied with, ratioing Brad again, which is one of my favorite things to do on Twitter. He got 80 likes. I got 338. When I replied, whenever a Tesla hater mentions Tesla R&D being lower as a percent of revenue, I like to pull this revenue chart out. Hey, check it out. This is the revenue. It doesn't even fit on the page. Let me drag this over so you can see the number at the end. Okay. Yeah. So revenue was $31 billion in 2020. And then it was $54 billion in 2021, and then it was $81 billion in 2022. Brad thinks Tesla should have spent 9% of $81 billion on R&D so that there wouldn't have been a decline on his dumb chart that started out at 9%. Well, what's 9% of 81 billion? It's $8 billion, right? $8 billion on research and development would have been a terrible use of shareholder money, right? Look how much money Tesla is spending. They're spending about $3 billion per year. Yeah, Brad, I'm sure would love for Tesla to be spending $5 billion more than this per year on research and development, because Tesla would be earning $5 billion per year less in profits if they were doing that. And they'd be making the same stupid profit margins the rest of the auto industry is making. So there you go. That is Who's Hating Hard on Tesla today. And with that, I will check back in with Loki and see that he is still curled up and sleeping, doing what he does. And I'll outro and say, if you've enjoyed today's video, click the like button, whatever platform you're viewing this on, Patreon or Twitter or YouTube. Thank you to everyone who supports me, especially my executive producers, Kathy Kitchler and Rebellionaire.com. If you want access to these videos the day that I upload them, subscribe to me on Twitter for only 69 cents per week, and I'll see you in the next one.